Hey, what's going on? Thanks for checking in. It's the young boy Flacca Aries you tuned into. And look, Sergio Perez and Red Bull just might be the most perfect pairing of 2021. Now, before I get into this, I just want to say that I'm a huge Checo fan. So today's video is going to largely be looking at Checo's qualities as a driver and how that factors into how he's going to shine at Red Bull next year. Now, the first factor that we're going to look at is consistency. And as George Russell says, consistency is key. And Sergio Perez is so consistent. Just look at last year. He scored top 10 in all of the races he finished last year. That's arguably his best year in Formula 1. So when you look at how he drives, he's able to outperform the car because one of the most crucial factors on race day in modern day Formula 1 is the one-stop strategy. So tire management is highly emphasized. I mean, take a look at Bottas at Silverstone last year, for example. His puncture has been deemed unlucky in a lot of people's opinions when compared to Lewis, who also got a puncture 2 laps later, but still managed to win the race on 3 wheels. Now, are you going to say Lewis was more lucky? No, it was purely based on tire management. Bottas wears out the tire more every single lap to the point where there is a 1 gap deficit in terms of tires. And that's why Lewis got that puncture a lap later, because his ability to manage the tires is much more efficient than Bottas. I've said this before, Lewis, in my opinion, is the only person that's better at tire management than Sergio Perez on this grid. Now, tire management is not only great for pace, but it's also crucial for strategies for the team. And strategy became one of the most influential reasons why Albon was dropped. Now, I've said this in my previous video, so I'm not going to talk about it again. But if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. Albon has not been able to reach Max in qualifying. And when you lose early positioning, you lose many critical strategies for the team to implement to win a race. The only time I've seen Alex good this season was at the last race at Abu Dhabi. And that's the reason why Mercedes couldn't do anything to prevent Max from the dub, because Albon was close enough to prevent Mercedes from doing an undercut. And you have to understand that from a team perspective, the constructors champion is far more important than the drivers champion. The drivers champion is only for the drivers. The team doesn't care about the drivers champion. If they win the constructors, that's all they care about. And so from a team's perspective, Albon has failed to implement strategies that can help Max on race day. And that is why Sergio becomes the better factor at Red Bull, because he is far more consistent. Now let's look at another factor, and that's the Mercedes engine. Now, Red Bull, with their Young Drivers Academy, always has younger drivers in their lineup, and there's good and bad. The good is that they can hone their skills as they get more comfortable while developing the car around them, like Max. A lot of people say whoever is paired with Max will always get the axe, or the car becomes undrivable in their hands. Now, I see this as Red Bull developing the car too extensively to suit Max, and his driving style is just too unique for other drivers to get good from the ground running. And that is one of the reasons why Sergio Perez is needed, because his vast experience and years driving with the Mercedes engine will bring a better direction for car development that Red Bull needs. And I think Red Bull needs this because they're a little lost. They can only develop the car according to Max, and they don't have a more experienced driver like Ricardo or Vettel that could bring in another set of opinions, because other drivers from the Red Bull Academy just don't have as much experience in the car as Max. And I think that's exactly what Helmut wanted the most out of Checo. He probably knows that the car is just too green for most rookies to drive. An experienced driver like Checo can make comparisons to the Racing Point Mercedes car last year, which was largely the 2019 era of Mercedes with a W11 engine. So that's value added to why they signed Checo in the first place. The last factor is Checo's is in the perfect form of his career. Look, Checo's gonna perform well no matter what. I'm boldly claiming this right now. And that's because he said this before, that he's in the prime of his career. And that's really not easy to come by. He's fortunate enough that he has enough sponsorship money to attract teams to want him for the drive. But the years he's been in Formula 1, he's been honing his skills to become the top driver today. And that's exactly why a top team like Red Bull wants him more than Albon. And look, it's not even that he's good last year. He's been really good throughout his whole career. Just look at that 2012 performance. He scored 3 podiums in his second year at Lotus, but the choice to replace Hamilton at McLaren was like, honestly, it was just too unfortunate that he lost out. But I think it turned out to be the best, because then being at Force India gave him the necessary disadvantages to make him more consistent and develop the ability to manage tires so well. And so it's unfortunate because sometimes the car makes you look like a shittier driver. Like we see Stoffel Vandoorne in that McLaren. Was he really that bad? Probably not, considering how he actually made it to Formula 1 and he's now a Mercedes reserve. But his stint at McLaren made him look like utter shit that he no longer had a drive. So consider this instance. If you were the bosses at Red Bull, Checo in a midfield car last year certainly outperformed it with all top 10 finishes. And that certainly looks more impressive than Albon, who failed to even come close to podium finishes in a Grand Prix capable winning car. And so when you look at all these factors together, that's exactly why Red Bull wants him. And they're not single instances where it's like once you sign him, you lose these factors. No, like Sergio is consistent. He has the experience in Formula 1 and he's in the prime of his career. There's nothing that'll stop him from having better finishes at Red Bull next year. You're gonna see him in a really great car, and he's one of the top drivers right now. So that's exactly why I said Checo and Red Bull are the perfect pairing for 2021. Alright, that's all I'm gonna talk about for today. And if you liked what I talked about in this video, then smash the like button. It'll go a long way for me. And I'll check you guys out in the next video. Peace.